everybody, Beth here from Access Paranormal for this week's I Want to Know, which is all about spirit communication. And sometimes, well, what I've often found is can be quite difficult in trying to get those hardcore data and facts and stuff that you can verify when you're actually out investigating, because obviously we want to be able to verify what's been going on or who we're speaking to, because for myself I'm as bad as psychic as these scrumpled up pieces of paper. So I need a bit of help, and sometimes that help comes in from direct spirit communication, whether or not they're able to give you some data and some facts that you can actually verify that with. Now, first thing I have to say, and I know it seems like, oh really, do you have to, but we're looking at this as an idea and some theories and some thoughts. Ghosts and spirits haven't been proven by science. They don't exist according to science. So these are some ideas that we can think about to say if spirits and ghosts do exist, you know, trying to communicate with them can be quite difficult. Let's kind of look at different ways in which we can make this work. So hi everybody, how are you? So that's the one thing. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention, was the fact that this is some ideas. Okay, so when I'm out investigating, I know I've had experiences myself that I do still question. I know other people do as well. So that's where this angle is coming from. So if spirits and ghosts exist and we're trying to communicate with them and they're not really talking all the time when it comes to data or facts or research, then, you know, what could actually be going on? Hi Shane, hello Karen, how are you? Lovely. So the first thing I wanted to mention was, again, use your comment section down there if you're watching this on Facebook and or YouTube. Love to know what your thoughts are as well. If there's something that you agree with, you don't agree with, or you want to put your 2 cents on there, by all means use the comment section below. The person that sent this through, thank you very much. You know who you are. They literally only sent it about just over a week ago, and I said this would be a really, really great topic to speak about. I already had something else in mind, but I felt that this was a really good one, because I equally get as frustrated sometimes when it comes to trying to investigate in the whole spirit communication type thing, particularly because I am not a medium or psychic. So I'm really relying a lot on the equipment and the people around me. Now, the first thing they had suggested was the fact that maybe it's an energy thing. Maybe it takes a lot of energy for something to try and communicate, let alone communicate facts or data or anything like that. I thought that's a really good point. That's a general consensus that a lot of people would think, and I would think that as well. I've thought about that in the past. That could be a possibility. Maybe it takes a lot to be able to verbally communicate, let alone just show up. So that could definitely be something. Chrissy Daley had actually commented literally just before I'd gone to live with this, and it said, you know, maybe spirits aren't very much about the past. They could be very much about the here and now. So wherever the afterlife is, maybe that's about being in the here and now as opposed to actually living in the past. So I thought that was a really, really good comment to make. I hadn't thought of it quite like that. So that's a really great part too. Hi Kat, how are you, sweetheart? And also a gentleman, I think I've got it here actually, is Campbell Watson, I think it was. He made a comment when I had posted this particular question on Australian Hauntings page. So if you haven't gone over and had a look at there, please go and have a look. It's really cool. And he made a really good point. Now, this guy's got a little bit of a psychology background as well as being a bit of a spiritualist. So there's the whole 2 sides thing going there. And he made a really good point, so much so that I'm actually going to read it out and see what you guys think if you haven't actually read this before. So he says, numbers and dates and times are conscious mind constructs. Not everyone agrees it's 2017 and that it's just culturally based. Spirits, ghosts no longer have the same constructs. We ask for the date when something will happen, and we might as well ask a ghost or a spirit, is Saturday in bed? It means gibberish to them. They recently have passed over. They may still understand, but those who have never had our time frame can't actually remember or wouldn't be able to actually ask or answer the question. So, and that's the other thing he also mentioned, was people forget that we have to teach primary school kids about numbers, dates, times, ages, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, as humans, we agree that there's a 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, but these actually have to be taught. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. So maybe, you know, our need for the data and the verification, of course, it's a very human thing, because, you know, I want to be able to know, you know, who I'm trying to speak to, because I can't see physically who it is. But the fact that we're taught dates and times and things like that to be able to track what we're doing here, maybe on the other side, you know, time is linear. There is no such thing as time. So maybe there's no need in a spiritual realm to sit there and say, I was 43 when I died. It was in 1852, and it was in Ohio. And okay, right, you know, maybe to them it's like, it doesn't matter, because that was something that's past. That's something that, you know, is very human and constraint type stuff. So I thought that was a really, really interesting point. I don't know. The ghost could resemble a dementia patient. Exactly. Well, that's it. For me, myself, I don't know who I'm speaking to. So they may actually, it's a very valid point there, Tony. You could actually be dealing with an entity that is still in a realm or a way or a thought pattern or in it's somewhat of more of such a human mind, conscious mind, that, you know, if they suffered dementia, they could actually be giving you false details. If that's the case, it probably wouldn't verify if you were to check it up. But it makes a good point. You know, we don't know who we're dealing with sometimes, or I personally don't, because I don't have that insight. So it makes a really, really good point there. Hi, Paul. How are you, mate? So yeah, that was a really good point. That's one thing to also keep in mind. So Campbell makes a really good point too as well. I actually, for myself, when it comes to trying to deal with dates, numbers, times, all that kind of stuff, or getting that information, I very rarely get it directly from possible spirit. Very rarely, which is often through equipment. You're lucky if you get a name. You're lucky if you get a name. For myself, that's from my experience. So if I'm going to get this information, it is most of the time from other people that can see more, mediums and psychics and things like that. Sharon, how are you? I've had a spirit speaking to me lately, and she told me something would happen yesterday, and it sort of did. See, but there's lots of people who are, not lots, but there are some people that are very intuitive as well. That's really cool. That's awesome, Sharon. Well done, man. If they can tell me when I've got to win lotto. I remember where I heard that from. So, no, that's really cool. That's very cool. So there's, I often, again, like what Sharon said, you know, sometimes there are people that will get that information from you, like really hardcore data and facts. Now, for this kind of stuff, I don't have the insight to understand a little bit about being a medium or being a psychic. So what I did is I had a quick chat with Andrea Caldy, and for those who know me, she's a lovely, lovely person, a paranormal medium. She's chosen to step away a little bit from the paranormal because she's got other things going on, but I managed to catch up with her last night because I'm like, I'm doing this topic. I want to know where your brain is at with this. From someone who's a medium, who deals with paranormal investigations for over 10 years. What's it like? You know, why is it so hard sometimes? Because when we work together, and we've been on productions for Moonlight Media, I don't want to push her too much when she's picking up on things. I kind of sit there and think, no, I don't want to push it because I don't want to front load her with any information or suggest anything that I do know, because she doesn't know what I'd know. And so I'll only say, you know, are you able to provide more information? So I don't often push too much. But she had some really interesting points about mediumship when it comes to data and information. The first thing was if a medium is providing really, really good data, stats, facts, it's almost like it's too good to be true. Now, it's not to say that each and every medium or psychic you'll ever deal with is fraudulent. That's not the case at all. Not to say I'm questioning anyone's integrity in any way, but it's to keep that in mind, because even just the way our brains work, we can retain information and forget that we've retained it, and then later on actually remember it and speak about it. That's just actually part of what we're made up with. It's called cryptomnesia, and it's actually something that can happen to anybody, let alone a medium or a psychic. But of course, it would be more detrimental to them as opposed to anybody else. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is if the information can be easily researched that's coming through from someone providing it, keep that in mind. Where is this information sitting? Can it be found? Because she said it is. She agrees. It can be hard for data and facts and information like that to come through. Also, she said that that's lovely. She said, you know, also the information and where it's coming from. So this is a big problem with parapsychology studies and research and experiments, is that when testing mediums, okay, I'll put it into this scenario. There is you're interviewing somebody in a private case. You're interviewing somebody about somebody who is passed on in the house. The medium here could be actually picking up on information that this person knows about the person that's passed on. It may not actually be direct from spirit. So is it coming from them psychically, or is it coming from medium sort of a spirit communication? So a really good medium will know a little bit of the difference. Not a lot do, I've been told. Again, as I said, what your thoughts are, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that. So, okay, so where is this information coming from? You're getting spirit communication, or you're getting it from psychically from somebody who knew the person who passed away. So that's the other thing to also keep in mind too. Spirit communication also, the way that humans communicate, we don't always do it verbally. There's lots of other different ways in which we communicate. So I can say, hi, I'm Beth from Access Paranormal, or I can just go, and you know that either way I've said hello, and one was one I spoke about, and one wasn't, that I hadn't done so. So maybe there are other ways in which energies may want to actually communicate, not just from a verbal perspective as well. So there could also be that too. To communicate isn't just from voice to voice. Think about it from mediums who are audible, or who are very much clairvoyant and very much about seeing things. So sometimes the information you're getting may not be data because of the facts that, look, I'm clairsentient. I feel emotions, and I'm feeling very sad and upset that something had passed and something tragic happened. Well, you're not going to really get the data and the dates and the times and the stuff that you can verify from feelings. But that's not purely because of the spirit's problem or issue, possibly. It's the way in which the person, the translator, picks that information up. So it's really interesting kind of stuff to keep in mind when dealing with this kind of thing. So yeah, humans don't actually always communicate just verbally, and also that coming through from a medium in that way, you're kind of somewhat restricted. It's kind of like somebody who speaks Swahili trying to speak to somebody who speaks English. You know, you're going to say, right, there's obviously a language barrier here, but maybe there's another way around it. I can show you the information about what I went through and who I am and where I've been. I'm loving all these comments coming through, guys. Hi, Amy. Hi, Sweetie Pie. So there's a couple of things to think about. Again, love to know your thoughts. You know, in summary, it's almost like, you know, finding data and facts and getting that information from spirit is, getting anything from spirit is a high five if you can try, and you do get somewhere and you're able to verify that. I know that some people can get some great EVPs. I've heard some interesting EVPs and stuff that's really, really quite, information is quite strange when it comes through, and then when it's gone back to actually research anything that's happened to that person or that location, you've gone, oh wow, actually I didn't realize that actually links in with this information. Of course, we have to be careful not linking too much, but it's sometimes the really, really obscure data can be quite interesting when it comes through. Hi Cass, hi Sweetie Pie. So yeah, have a think about it. If there's anything else that you guys think about, whether or not you've had issues, or there's things that you know, suggest that can make things easier when it comes to trying to get that kind of information. It really is how long is a piece of string. Everyone's situation is very different. For me, I do have, like I said, I do have problems with trying to get that kind of data and that verification. It is very difficult because I think also not being a medium and or psychic, and I do have to rely on other people. But there could be a whole other thing, like time is not linear. Where they are, it could be very, very different. Maybe it's not even important anymore. It could be anything like that. All sorts of stuff. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section. Love to hear from it. Anything that you want to comment with regarding Andrea, tag her name in there as well. Her name is Andrea Caldy, and she'll be happy to also help answer your questions as well. But thanks so much for watching, and it's great to be back, and I'll see you next week.